This is more of a commentary than a story, but something I kind of I've been watching going on. I When I was putting studios together to set up a room, with a pair of monitors. If the monitors were small enough, you just had to deal with what you're hearing from the monitors. You weren't too concerned with the room because it was so close range, but you still wanted some sound treatment. And as the monitors got bigger, the room was in play. So when you had them soffit mounted or big freestanding, you had to consider the room because it was part of the sound. So it just seemed everybody was always working hard to get those two monitors to sound good in the room, to get the acoustics right, to get the treatment right, to get the bass traps right, all that kind of stuff. And then I start seeing monitors coming out. They saw like barefoot monitors when they first came out, and they had the woofers on their sides. And I was like, well, that's crazy. You got sound coming from different directions. So how do you deal with that? So, well, they got popular. People were using them. So I guess they got around that problem. Or they didn't. I don't know. But you still have to calibrate the rooms. And then we came out with 5.1. And I remember Angel Mountain, we went into that heavy. We had the A room with the 412s, 5 of them with two 18-inch subs. And then we had the B room with two 212s, 5 of them, with the subs. And then we had the C room. All the rooms were in surround. And we had over $500,000 in speakers. And that was a dealer cost in that facility for all the surround work we were supposed to do. And the record companies were jumping on board and they said, okay, let's remix our stuff in surround. And, it was kind of a production line. And, that's how we got, I think it was Universal Mastering or I think that's what their name was. So we would get their mixes, we would get the multi-tracks, and then we would do a surround mix. And, it was assigned to whoever the engineer, was. And it wasn't assigned to the original engineer. But, we had to calibrate the room for those 5 speakers. And I remember Roger Quested came in and calibrated all the rooms. Now we got Atmos. So we're beyond the 5 speakers with the one. We're into at least 7 speakers around you, 4 speakers above you, and a subwoofer. And I just don't understand, how are they calibrating those rooms? I know Genelec has a system where you put a microphone and it sends out the tones and it calibrates the rooms. But, most people aren't spending the money to get into the Genelecs, which, they're fantastic speakers. But most speakers, I watched, who was that guy? Produced Like a Pro. He had these, what were they? Some really inexpensive speakers. And they set them all up in the room. And that was their, they put the 4 above you and the 7 around you in the subwoofer. And he says, okay, yeah, this sounds fantastic. How are they calibrating the room? And then, the room comes into play. So the room has to be a pretty good built room. So I don't know how they're doing this. And then on top of that, once you have your Atmos mix done, where do you hear it? I hear a lot of people say, well, you just get special headphones. Well, what if you don't like headphones? I'm not a big fan of headphones. You just want to listen to them at home. They said, well, you can listen to it in your car. I go, well, they said 5.1 was going to take off when in your car, and that never happened. So how is Atmos going to be any better than that? So it just seems very odd to me. And then the other thing, I saw an article, Bob Clearmountain, they were interviewing him, I don't know, it was a year ago or so, and he made a really good point. He says, all these classic records that are being remixed in Atmos are being done without the approval of the artists. And the artists, they're not just the artists, they don't just, create the music, but they have a final say in what should be released. And here we go with engineers that have no connection to the artists at all, or haven't been able to talk to them, or, they've passed on, and they're doing these, Atmos mixes and releasing them. And I understand it's for the record companies or whoever owns the rights to the music to make more money. But I don't know if it's the right thing to be doing. there was. I remember I had one car and it had a lexicon, a processor in it that you just hit this button and it sounded like the mix was totally different in the car and sounded really, really good in the car. And I just thought, maybe some kind of processing like that would be good. But I guess the bottom line is it was hard enough making two speakers sound right in a room and getting the mixes right. Then they went to 5.1. Now they're at 741. And I don't know where it's going to end. And I don't understand why. Well, I understand why they're doing it. It's all money based. But, I sold Serban's partner his system that is, the Genelec, the smaller speakers all around him. And he got the big Genelecs to check his mixes. And he's a fantastic mixer. And he's getting the mixes done. But it's still, you kind of have to question if the artist should be, involved. And that was one thing that Bob Clearmountain said. He would mix an Atmos. He would do an Atmos mix for a client for free, just to make sure that the client got the Atmos mix that they were supposed to. And he offered that, and I thought that was very generous of him because his time has to be very valuable. So I guess the whole thing here is it was hard enough getting two speakers. Then we went to 5. Then we went to 741. It just seems it's crazy. And the final product, they're telling you to listen through headphones, that's even crazier. So that's my commentary for the day. I mean, it may make some people crazy, but that's just I'm just trying to think out loud.